The recent developments in the ongoing conflict involving Ukraine mark a significant turning point with the announcement by U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff regarding the United States' preparation to provide Ukraine with Article 5-like protection. This protection, modeled after NATO's Article 5 collective defense principle, promises that any future attack on Ukraine after a peace deal would be treated as an attack on all NATO members, prompting collective defense responses. Although this does not equate to Ukraine's formal membership in NATO, a red line firmly maintained by both Russia and previous and current U.S. administrations, it indicates a novel approach by extending the security umbrella without incorporating Ukraine into the alliance. This idea, initiated by Italy, offers Ukraine robust security guarantees while sidestepping direct NATO accession, which Russia has consistently opposed. The significance of this concession is underscored by the fact that Russia has, for the first time publicly, acknowledged the need to provide Ukraine with some form of security guarantee. This admission aligns with Putin's statements recognizing Ukraine's security concerns, but stops short of allowing NATO membership. Critical details reveal that these guarantees will be offered not by NATO as an organization, but by individual countries, most notably the United States and several European nations. Such a security arrangement would mean Ukraine enjoys protection akin to Article 5 principles without the formal structure and obligations of NATO membership. However, this security guarantee from the West does not come without strings attached. Russia is demanding that Ukraine relinquish control over certain territories that Russia has not yet fully seized, particularly the regions of Donetsk and Luhansk. This demand poses a major obstacle, considering these areas form a heavily fortified defensive belt critical to Ukraine's military posture. Ukraine had already lost Crimea and parts of Donbass in previous years in exchange for hope of lasting peace, only to see renewed hostilities. Thus, Ukrainian resistance to further territorial concessions is fierce and understandable, as is the public skepticism about Russia's true commitment to peace once it obtains land gains by force. Adding complexity to the evolving situation is the suggestion that U.S. troops might be deployed on Ukrainian soil under these security guarantees. While precise details remain to be negotiated, this potential deployment reflects a more assertive Western posture. Discussions ahead will need to clarify the scope and logistics of this military support, reflecting both Ukrainian security needs and European concerns. The commitment expressed by Western mediators to advance Ukraine's interests contrasts with the strategic hesitancy and tough demands from the Russian side, highlighting the difficulty of forging a mutually acceptable deal. Russia's concessions appear limited and calculated. Reports indicate that Russia is willing to return only small portions of territory in the northeastern Sumy and Kharkiv regions, areas representing a minor part of the territory affected by the conflict. Meanwhile, the demand for Ukraine to surrender large swaths of Donetsk and Luhansk, about 6,600 square kilometers, reveals the asymmetry of the proposed terms. This lopsided exchange is called into question not only on fairness grounds, but also because it effectively rewards aggression and territorial acquisition by force. Analysts describe Russia's position as presenting a poison pill that they expect Ukraine to reject, thus providing Moscow with grounds to blame Kyiv for the breakdown of peace talks. U.S. support, as conveyed through Steve Witkoff and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, stressed the reality that peace negotiations inherently require difficult compromises on both sides. Neither party can expect to achieve all its aims entirely. This reflects a fundamental principle of negotiation across political, business, and geopolitical settings. The ongoing talks, which have spanned over 3 years, reflect the complexity and endurance of this conflict. The longer the war persists, the more entrenched positions become, and the harder it is to reach consensus. The U.S. has been actively engaged, with Western leaders, including Ukraine's President Zelensky, preparing to meet at the White House with European counterparts to push forward these sensitive discussions. Critical issue remains the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Ukraine. The West, including the EU, reiterates that Ukraine's international borders cannot be altered through force, and that decisions regarding Ukraine's future territories must be made by Ukraine itself. This upholds the principles of international law and serves as the moral and legal foundation for Western policy. The characterization of Ukraine growing into a steel porcupine, capable of deterring aggression, captures the resolve for a strong national defense as the best security guarantee. Territorial negotiations are expected to be multilateral, involving Russia, Ukraine, and international mediators, while respecting the current lines of control as the basis for discussions. Concerns about the precedent set by conceding territory to an aggressor reflect serious debates in Western policy circles. While Russia's seizure of land by force has already established a troubling example globally, allowing further annexations under the guise of negotiation risks normalizing the use of force in territorial disputes. Yet pragmatism dictates that an end to armed conflict often demands compromise, even painful ones. Neither Russia nor Ukraine is on the verge of unconditional surrender, so peace will inevitably require concessions from both, with recognition of mutual needs and limits. Ukraine insists that no external conditions be imposed without its consent. As a sovereign nation, Ukraine reserves the right to seek strategic alliances for its security, similarly to any other country. Territorial issues will be part of a difficult dialogue aimed at resolving control and governance over contested areas. There is also the possibility that some Russian-held territories will be returned, but the framework remains fluid and subject to negotiation. Looking ahead, the prospects for a final agreement depend on reconciling highly divergent interests and expectations. The negotiation's inherent complexity demands diplomatic skill, patience, and strategic planning, with careful attention to both political realities and legal principles. The road to peace in Ukraine is unlikely to be straightforward or comfortable, but requires a balance of concessions, respect for sovereignty, and a shared commitment to avoiding further escalation.